Good morning, everybody. My name is Larry Hoffheimer, and I am the chairman and founder of the Macular Degeneration Association. The Macular Degeneration Association was formed about 12 years ago with the principal purpose of educating patients and caregivers about this epidemic disease, not just the virus, but macular degeneration that affects millions of people around the world. We're a nonprofit organization exempt from income tax from the Internal Revenue Service. All donations are tax deductible, and we operate solely on the basis of voluntary contributions. Since our principal purpose is education, I want to first welcome you to this program, which I'll describe in a minute. But for future patient virtual seminars, I encourage you to go to our website at www.macularhope.org. Also, I would like to thank Regeneron and Novartis for their support of our virtual programs. And I also want to begin to alert you to the fact that the questions and answers, you see a Q&A box on the bottom of your screen. Please confine your questions to that Q&A box. And after Dr. Campagna finishes, she will begin to answer those questions. In the meantime, it's now my pleasure to introduce a very beneficial and interesting program. Our speaker now is Dr. Campagna, who is a doctor of optometry and founder of Eye Wellness. Her mission is to educate and inspire her patients, the public, and eye care community about the power of nutrition and lifestyle in ocular health. She regularly presents educational lectures and articles on health, on eye health and nutrition, and is a co-author two best-selling books, Eye Foods, a food plan for healthy eyes, and Eye Foods for Kids, tasty natural nutrition for eye health. Her latest book, The Complete Eye Health Nutrition Guide, is available on our website. She's further distinguished in the field of optometry by her Women in Optometry Award for Innovation in 2016. Dr. Campagna received her Doctor of Optometry degree from the University of Waterloo in 1998 and is a member of the Ontario Association of Optometrists, the College of Optometrists of Ontario, and the Ocular Nutrition Society. It's now my distinct pleasure to introduce you to Dr. Campagna.
Thank you, Larry, and hello, everyone. Just give me a moment here to get my PowerPoint up and running. Okay, well, welcome. Good afternoon. Thank you for the kind introduction, Larry. I'm envisioning all the people here on this webinar. It's still definitely something that you know, is going to take a little bit of getting used to doing more of these virtual talks. But it's a great way for us to connect and to continue getting the message out about how important nutrition is for our eyes. So before we get started, I've got an exciting talk today, but before we get started, I'd like to take a few minutes to talk to you about what brought me here talking about nutrition. You know, how did I go from an optometrist to writing some books and speaking and making food a center part of what I do every day? Well, I've been practicing for 22 years now, and about 12 years ago, I was attending a conference on ocular nutrition. It was a 3-day event all about nutrition. And as I was sitting there, I was just so interested, and I was frantically taking notes, and I couldn't get enough of this information. And a light bulb went off in my head. Nutrition is what was missing from my practice. So I went back to practice, I went back to work, and I started talking to my patients about nutrition. But I quickly realized that people did not need general information. They needed a plan. So that led me and a colleague, Dr. Barbara Pelchier, to write iFoods and iFoods for Kids. And we started speaking about the topic. And one thing led to another. And I decided I had to follow my dream one step further and open an eye clinic, which is based on education. And that was 5 years ago. And that was Eye Wellness. So at Eye Wellness, it's such a special place because I have the opportunity to talk to all of my patients about prevention and about the power of nutrition and lifestyle in maintaining healthy eyes and helping prevent diseases such as macular degeneration and cataracts. If you have macular degeneration and cataracts, and helping to maintain the vision that you have now. So one of the core things we do is provide our patients with a plan. And I'm excited today to invite you here with me at Eye Wellness, where I can provide you a plan to implement in your life to help maintain a lifetime of healthier eyes. So how are we going to do this? Okay, sorry, give me a second to there. Okay, we're going to talk about three things. We're going to talk about the nutrients that are important for vision and important for preventing eye disease. Then we're going to talk about the most important eye foods, the most important foods that include these nutrients. And then finally, how to implement this into your life. So the eye is a highly metabolic organ. It needs nutrition to function. We've all read about certain foods and nutrients that can help prevent macular degeneration or cataracts or dry eye disease. But I want to back up a bit because our eye actually uses nutrients to create vision. We need specific nutrients just to see. So the three most important nutrients I'm going to spend more time on today are lutein and zeaxanthin, vitamin C, and omega-3 fatty acids. So lutein and zeaxanthin, what are they? Well, lutein and zeaxanthin are dietary carotenoids. And what is a carotenoid? Well, a carotenoid is actually a pigment and it's abundant in nature. So we have carotenoids in marigolds. They make marigolds yellow. We have carotenoids in the leaves in the trees. The fall colors, if you were blessed to see fall colors, come out because we lose the chlorophyll and the carotenoids are now exposed. So carotenoids are pigments, and in the body, they're abundant in the eye, in the brain, in the skin, and in breast tissue. Now, in the eye, they're particularly abundant in the macula and the lens. And the two most important carotenoids out of 600 total, the two most important in the body and in the eye, are lutein and zeaxanthin. So what do lutein and zeaxanthin do? Well, they have two functions. One, they absorb blue light and UV light, and two, they act as antioxidants. So let's back up and talk about blue light because we hear a lot about blue light now, especially with all this screen use. Today we're on a screen and we're getting blue light. Now, the biggest source of blue light is actually the sun. Okay, so we're always exposed to blue light. And blue light, we can think of it as similar to UV light, but it's light that we can see. And the thing about it, it has a short wavelength and higher energy. So with the short wavelength, it doesn't focus right exactly on the retina. So when we're looking at devices that have a lot of blue light, we don't see quite as clearly. So if you have a lot of lutein and zeaxanthin in the macula and the retina and it's absorbing blue light, we may get a little bit of decreased glare, increased contrast, perhaps even higher functioning vision. The second thing that lutein and zeaxanthin do is they act as antioxidants. So briefly, oxidation occurs from pollutants, it occurs from unhealthy foods, it occurs from even light. So when light enters our eye, there's oxidation that occurs. And over many years of just having vision, as we grow older, oxidation can cause damage to our cells. So we need antioxidants to help protect the cells, and lutein and zeaxanthin do that. So they're very protective. Now, so we need lutein and zeaxanthin to see. We also know that if you have higher amounts of lutein and zeaxanthin, you will have a decreased risk for macular degeneration and cataracts. So how do we get lutein and zeaxanthin? Well, our bodies can't make it. It's not made by our bodies. We have to get it from our diet. Okay. The average North American gets 1 to 3 milligrams a day of lutein and zeaxanthin in their diet. And the iFoods plan recommends about 10 milligrams per day. So we're going to learn about the foods that are high in lutein and zeaxanthin. And if you're aware of these foods, you can achieve these numbers by food. Now, keep in mind, some people, if you have macular degeneration or certain diseases or have been advised by your doctor, you need to be on vitamins. But for now, we're going to focus purely on food. So we talked about lutein and zeaxanthin being in the eye, and in the macula, which is in the retina, it's actually 1,000 times more than anywhere else in our whole body. But lutein also exists in our brain, and they're doing some new science, some new studies right now, and we're finding out that we can correlate the amount of lutein in the eye to the brain. And that's important because there might be a correlation with lutein in the brain and cognitive function. So that's lutein. Now you see a couple pictures on the side. You see an egg yolk, you see goji berries. We'll talk a little more in detail about those foods later. Okay, so the next nutrient we're going to talk about is vitamin C. So we've all heard of vitamin C, and vitamin C is everywhere in our body. We call it the major extracellular antioxidant. So again, it's an antioxidant. It's going to help protect against oxidation and damage. And extracellular means is that it exists outside of our cells. Okay. Interesting enough, vitamin C is at high concentration in all of our ocular tissue. And in one part of the eye, there's 10 to 20 times more vitamin C than anywhere else in the body. And that's important. And that happens because, as I said before, the eye is highly metabolic. There's a lot of action and activity that goes on in the eye just to create vision. Okay, so we need vitamin C just to be able to see. Studies have also shown that vitamin C can help decrease the risk of cataracts and macular degeneration. It also helps with wound healing. So vitamin C is good if you're having any surgery. And now we're starting to see maybe a link with dry eye, but that's all early science. So we don't make vitamin C. Just like lutein, our bodies don't make it. So we have to get it from our food. But not only don't we make it, we don't store it. So, and it has a short half-life. That means you can eat an orange or a kiwi and you'll get the vitamin C from there, but then within a couple hours, that vitamin C won't be there anymore. So what that means is we have to eat foods with vitamin C many times per day. So take a moment and think about a couple foods that you think are high in vitamin C. What do you think is the highest fruit source of vitamin C? It's actually kiwi. We always think of citrus fruit with vitamin C, but kiwi is the highest fruit source of vitamin C, where there's 90 milligrams of vitamin C in a medium-sized kiwi and about 30 milligrams in an orange. Okay, so kiwi is a great source. You'll also see the picture of peppers here. Peppers are a very good source of vitamin C as well. Now, when we're eating foods and we want to reap the benefits of vitamin C, should we be eating the food raw or cooked? Raw. Okay, so to get vitamin C, you want to enjoy the food raw. If you cook the food, the amount of vitamin C decreases. Okay, so the next nutrient we're going to talk about are omega-3 fatty acids. And this is a large class of nutrients, and we could go on for hours about this. So I'm going to give you a bit of a summary. Now, there's two important omega-3 fatty acids that we actually use in our body. The most important are DHA and EPA. Okay, so DHA is abundant in the nervous system, and it's important in infant brain and eye development. In the eye, DHA exists in the rods and cones. DHA is actually part of what we call the vision signal. Light enters the eye, it stimulates the cells, the rods and cones, and DHA is part of that signal that gets sent to the brain to create vision. And it's interesting because if we don't have enough DHA, our body's going to replace it with another fatty acid, with another fat. And that vision signal won't be as good or as efficient or as strong. Now, EPA is another type of omega-3 fatty acid, and EPA is known for its anti-inflammatory benefits. And we hear omega-3s for anti-inflammatory benefits all the time. You know, it can help with arthritis, it can help with joint pain, it can help with cardiovascular disease. And that a lot has to do with inflammation. But DHA and EPA are important just for normal vision. Okay, we may have seen the ARED studies about macular degeneration and vitamins and specific vitamins. And, you know, that one study, the AREDS 2, showed us that adding omega-3 to a specific supplement does not decrease the risk of macular degeneration, but we still need to be getting omega-3 fatty acids from our food because it's important for the overall health of our eyes and our body. Now, DHA and EPA are found in fish. Okay, that's where we get them mostly. ALA is another omega-3 that we get from plants. Okay, so you hear about flax, you hear about chia seed, you hear about avocados, you hear about all these walnuts. You know, I can get my omega-3 from eating these plants. And you are, that's great, but it's not enough. Okay, so the ALA can be converted into DHA and EPA by our bodies, but that conversion is only about 2%. Okay, so the iFoods plan recommends 850 milligrams per day of EPA and DHA. And to achieve that, you're going to have to eat fish a couple times a week, and we'll go into more detail a little later about that. Okay, 850 milligrams per day. Now, the reason omega-3s are so important is what we call, it's all about balance. It's the omega-6 to 3 ratio. So omega-6s are another group of fatty acids. And omega-6s are abundant in our diet. We get them from processed foods, from vegetable oils, from nuts. They're abundant. We evolved with an omega-6 to 3 ratio of 1 to 1. And currently, North Americans have an omega-6 to 3 ratio of 15 to 1 or worse. And why is that so bad? Well, it's so bad because omega-6s are known to be pro-inflammatory. They create inflammation. Inflammation's not all bad because we need inflammation to heal a wound, to fight off an infection. So we need some inflammation. But when you have chronic inflammation, when your body's healthy and doesn't need it, that's when diseases start. Okay, so we need some omega-6, but we also need more omega-3. So we want to get that ratio as close to 1 to 1 as possible. 4 to 1 would even be ideal. So how do we do that? We have to up our omega-3 intake, and we'll talk about ways to do that. But we also have to decrease our omega-6 intake. So we want to stay away from processed foods as much as possible. Okay. So I'm not going to go in detail about these nutrients, but I just want to touch on them because we talked about the 3 most important, but the eye has so many other nutrients that can help. So vitamin A is important because it's also part of the vision signal. Vitamin A is converted into beta carotene, beta carotene, which we get from foods like squash and butternut squash and sweet potatoes, is converted into vitamin A into our body. Okay, so vitamin A is important for vision. Vitamin E is important for vision and has been shown in presence of other antioxidants to decrease the risk of macular degeneration. Zinc's an important part of the vision signal as well. Mesozeaxanthin, I'm just not going to talk about this for very long because it's not really found in food, but it's a cousin of the lutein and zeaxanthin that we talked about. Vitamin D is important for so many functions of our body, and now we're starting to see a correlation between vitamin D deficiency and dry eye disease. Okay, so vitamin D. B vitamins are important. CoQ10 is anti-inflammatory and very important, as is fiber. Okay, so let's move on to food. And on the East Coast anyhow, it's lunchtime. So if you're not enjoying your lunch while you're watching this, you might be motivated to pick up a healthy snack. So let's take a couple minutes and look at the slide and just take a look at all these different iFoods we have. And what you can see is there's a lot of eye foods. Okay, there's a lot of foods that are good and healthy and important for our eyes. In fact, there's over 64 eye foods in total. Well, to make it simpler, I've created 12 categories. Of these 12 categories, we're going to talk about the most important today. So take a moment, and what do you think is the most important category of eye foods? Leafy green vegetables. So leafy green vegetables are so important because other than omega-3 fatty acids, they contain all of the nutrients important for eye health. The Eye Foods Plan recommends eating 1 handful raw daily of leafy greens and a half a cup cooked 2 to 3 times per week. Okay, 1 handful raw, half a cup cooked. Why are we eating them both raw and cooked? Well, remember, to reap the benefits of vitamin C, we want to enjoy the foods raw. Well, it turns out that to absorb the lutein better, it's better if we cook it. Okay, so 1 handful raw, half a cup cooked. Now, why is half a cup cooked? Why is it only half a cup when we're eating it cooked? Why not a cup? Well, how many cups of a leafy green, say spinach, do you have to cook to get a half a cup? Does anybody know that answer? It's actually about 6 cups when you do it. I mean, it depends how much you put it together, but I had to test that for one of my talks, and it's actually about 6 cups. So it gets condensed when you're eating it cooked. Now I have a little note here to be aware of blood thinners, and that's because blood thinners such as Coumadin, even aspirin, but if you're taking a blood thinner as prescribed by your doctor, that blood thinner will work by decreasing the activity of vitamin K in your body. And leafy greens have a lot of vitamin K, okay? So the story is, if you are taking a blood thinner, do not change the amount of leafy greens you are currently eating before you talk to your doctor, okay? Because you're going to affect other things. So what is the top eye food? Kale. We're going to talk a little bit about kale. And kale's the top eye food because it has 3 times more lutein than dandelion greens and spinach. Now, if you recall, the Eye Foods target for lutein and zeaxanthin together is 10 milligrams per day. 1 medium leaf of kale contains 6 milligrams of lutein. 1 medium leaf of kale. It's amazing. But there's other leafy greens that are important too. There's so many out there. So if we're going to eat them every day, we've got such choices. I have some pictures up here. Rapini, or broccoli rabe is the other name. That's an Italian one. Baby kale. If you think kale's a little too stringy or too bitter, the baby kale tends to be a little more gentle and a little softer to eat. We have spinach, we have Swiss chard, dandelion greens, collard greens, beet greens. Even romaine lettuce contains some lutein. It's not a lot, but it's enough that if you're eating it consistently, it's going to help. We've got leaf lettuce, radicchio, watercress, so many different types that you can see here. If you want to take a picture of the screen, it'll give you some reminders. So it's easy not to get bored of leafy greens. What don't you see on this screen? Iceberg lettuce. Now, I'm not saying don't eat iceberg lettuce. I enjoy a salad with it in it, but know when you're eating iceberg lettuce, mostly what you're getting is water. So you're not getting a lot of those other nutrients that you need. Another thing that I want to say before we get into these recipes is that to really benefit from the lutein and zeaxanthin in these foods, you need to eat it with a little bit of healthy fat. So you're going to want to drizzle a little bit of extra virgin olive oil. If you're enjoying one of these smoothies, maybe eat the smoothie with a handful of nuts, because the body will absorb the lutein and zeaxanthin better in the presence of healthy fat. Okay, so here's a few recipes I've included: the tropical eye power smoothie, the berry green smoothie, and the kale chips. Those are all in the Eye Foods book. The nice thing about these smoothies, it's an easy way if you're busy or you just don't like to cook. Having a green smoothie every day is an easy way to get your iFoods, to get your greens. You could use kale, but you can use any of those other leafy greens that we talked about on the previous slide. This tropical iPower smoothie with kale, pineapple, mango, and even just water, you don't have to use coconut water. That's one of our favorites. Before COVID, before our pandemic, we would actually be serving smoothies to all of our patients when they came into iWellness as a little greeting and to start their education. And this was our most popular. Okay, so this is a good starting point if you don't really like or you haven't really tried a green smoothie. This is a great one to make. Another thing, the berry green smoothie is fun too, but as soon as you start to mix berries and kale or any green, just be prepared to have a brown smoothie. And it's okay, just you can tell yourself in your mind that it's chocolate, but it might turn a little brown. So there's eggs with arugula. That's just something we had fun with, the fun way to get kids to eat eggs or even yourself to eat eggs on a boring day. You can make little faces, and the hair you see there is just some arugula, but you could put spinach or any other green. And then we have kale chips. Okay, how are we doing for time? Okay, so the next one, the next food that we're going to talk about is orange peppers. So I would say leafy greens are the most important iFood, and orange peppers are the most surprising and most popular iFood. So the iFoods plan recommends eating 2 peppers per week, both raw and cooked. So why are we eating raw and cooked again? Raw to benefit from the vitamin C, and cooked to benefit from the lutein and zeaxanthin. Orange peppers also include vitamin E, and they include a little bit of beta carotene. So why orange peppers? Why not yellow or red or green? Well, orange peppers actually contain a lot of zeaxanthin. I haven't spent much time yet talking about zeaxanthin, but what zeaxanthin is it's kind of like a cousin. In chemistry terms, we call it an isomer, but it's a cousin to lutein. Both lutein and zeaxanthin are present in the macula of our eye, okay? But the lutein can be converted into zeaxanthin, but zeaxanthin itself, we don't find it a lot in food. We do have it in goji berries, which we saw on the slide, the lutein slide a little bit, but orange peppers are the highest food source of zeaxanthin. Okay, there's actually 3 milligrams of zeaxanthin and half an orange pepper. And to put that into perspective, if you're taking one of those AREDS vitamins or an eye vitamin for macular degeneration, there's probably going to be about 2 milligrams of zeaxanthin. So this doesn't replace your vitamin, but it's a great thing to add to your meals. Okay. The other thing about orange peppers is that they have more vitamin C than any other pepper. All peppers are a great source of vitamin C, okay, all peppers, but from highest to lowest, it goes orange, yellow, red, and then green. So eat all colors of peppers, but just make sure you're getting 2 orange peppers per week. Remember to eat them raw and cooked as well. So how can we eat orange peppers? Well, the iFoods book has a great recipe of stuffed peppers with ground turkey and barley, or you could even use quinoa and frozen spinach. That's a delicious one. And we've actually created a smoothie with an orange pepper in it. And I had an intern working with me who's now an optometrist, an awesome optometrist. And one summer it was her mission to come up with a good tasting smoothie with orange peppers. So this peach, pineapple, and pepper smoothie is a winner. It looks great, it tastes great, and it's a fun way to have orange peppers. But they're great to snack on. They're great to dip in hummus, even just stuff with other things. You can put like a tuna salad in an orange pepper. In the iFoods book, there's a recipe for mini pepper sailboats, and those are fun for parties too. Okay, so the next food we're going to talk about is cold water fish, and this leads us back to omega-3s. The iFoods plan recommends eating 3 to 4 servings per week of cold water fish. So what are cold water fish? Well, some examples are salmon, Arctic char, rainbow trout, tuna, sardines, and mackerel. Okay, 3 to 4 servings a week. That sounds like a lot. However, a serving is 3.5 ounces or 100 grams. And to put that into perspective, if you're going to have a fillet of salmon, even the fillets, if you buy it frozen, it's usually about 150 grams. Sorry, I'm using metric right now, but 150 grams. So it's going to be 1.5 times what we really want. Okay, so you can eat fish 2 to 3 times per week and hit these targets. And if you eat this much fish, you're going to get 850 milligrams a day of DHA and EPA, which, if you remember, is the iFoods target. Now, the reason I said salmon, Arctic char, rainbow trout, tuna, sardines, or mackerel, these fish you see on the screen, is because those fish are high in omega-3s. Not all fish is created equal. Okay, some fish might be a good lean protein source, but have a low amount of omega-3s. Haddock is an example. Haddock's a fine fish to eat for protein, but it doesn't have a lot of omega-3s. And if you're going to buy frozen fish that might be prepared like battered or even just a light coating. Last week I was in the grocery store and I thought, something a bit different. This looks like it could be healthy. It had a whole grain breading on it. And it was very light. But when I actually read the nutrition information, there was more omega-6s in that fish than there was omega-3s. So how you prepare the fish is very important. So we're going to talk about some frequently asked questions. Usually during my talks, this is where we get most of the questions happening about fish. So what we have here is, what about contamination? We often hear that fish could be contaminated with mercury or PCBs. And if we're starting to eat fish 2, 3, even 4 times a week, we have to be worried about that. We have to be knowledgeable. So how does fish get contaminated? Well, let's talk about mercury. Basically, you have coal mines, you have volcanoes, they all produce mercury into the air. And then that gets into the oceans, okay, through rain, through weather. When it's in our oceans, it gets into the oceans, and then the fish eat the plankton and the mercury builds up, and then the bigger fish eat the small fish and the mercury builds up. So all of a sudden now you have mercury in this food supply, and it's global. Okay, this is a global problem. So some fish are going to have high levels of mercury, and you do not want to be eating fish with high levels of mercury. Now, there's no easy way to know which fish has high mercury and which doesn't, but the fish I've recommended for you right now are all good sources with low contamination. Except the tuna, you need to make sure you're eating light tuna, okay? And the mackerel, you need to avoid king mackerel. Those are going to be the 2 exceptions to that. But on the next slide, I've included some resources to help you make better decisions about that. And we'll look at that in a minute, okay? So contamination, we want to worry about the mercury in our fish. Which is better, wild or farmed? Well, there's really not an easy answer to this, because some fish are better farmed, some fish are better wild. And it changes. 5 years ago, I would have said that farm salmon was pretty high in mercury and maybe lower in omega-3s, but they've changed the farming, the salmon farming. That farm salmon is actually a good option, as is wild salmon. Rainbow trout, farmed rainbow trout is very good. Okay, so which is better, wild or farmed? We're going to go back to our resources, which I'll show you on the next slide. And number 3, which is better, fresh or frozen? Well, frozen fish is actually quite good, because usually what happens is when they're catching the fish, the fishermen are catching the fish, they're flash freezing them on the boat. So you're getting it very fresh, okay? Now you might prefer to prepare fish that's already purchased fresh. So if you're going to go to your grocery store, your supermarket, or your fishmonger, ask them, when was the fish caught? We want to see how fresh it was. So not all fish is created equal. 3 to 4 servings per week, and small is safer. I'm going to talk to that for a little bit, okay? So when we talked about mercury in fish, basically what happens is, the fish, it goes up the food chain. So the big fish eats the little fish and it keeps going down. So you're going to get more mercury the larger the fish. So a little rule of thumb is, if the entire fish can fit on your dinner plate, not the fillet, but the entire fish can fit on your dinner plate, it's probably safe to eat. It probably has low levels of contamination. Okay. These two, you can see on the screen, these two resources I've included, edf.org and seafoodwatch.org. They have apps you can put on your smartphone. What you do is you type in the exact, under edf.org, it's a seafood selector. You type in the exact fish. It'll, where does it come from? And it's going to give you how sustainable it is, and two, how safe it is to eat. And a lot of times for the safety with the contamination, what it says is you can eat this up to 4+ times per month. And that's usually the best rating it's going to get, a 4+. Okay. So you may want to snap a picture of this. This is a recipe from the iFoods book. I'll talk briefly to it and give you some time to snap your picture. But basically, this is a rainbow trout packets. This is an easy way to prepare fish. And you can use parchment paper, you can use foil, but basically you put your fillet down on top of some onions and citrus, and then you top it with herbs, some salt and pepper, a little bit of olive oil, and then you're going to wrap it up and cook it in the oven. I've even prepared these raw, put them in the freezer, and taken them out and cooked them from frozen on busy nights. They don't taste as great as they do when it's prepared and cooked fresh, but it's great. It's a great way to have fish on a busy work night. Okay. So now we're going to talk about eggs, okay? Let's bring eggs back into the spotlight as a healthy food. First, they're good for us, then they're not, but now they're back again. So the iFoods plan recommends eating 4 eggs per week. And studies have shown that when eggs are eaten in moderation, they are good for us. They can increase our lutein and zeaxanthin levels without affecting our blood serum levels, without, increasing our cholesterol or making affecting our hypertension. Okay, so eggs when eaten in moderation are good. And remember to eat the entire egg because most of the nutritional benefit comes from the yolk. So eggs are great for our eyes because they contain lutein and zeaxanthin, DHA, and omega-3 fatty acid, vitamin E, and zinc. Now, eggs do not contain as much lutein as leafy greens. However, our bodies absorb it very well. Okay, so even though the number isn't as high, we absorb it well. And there's 2 theories behind this. One is that eggs inherently have fat in the food. Okay, and I had mentioned that you need healthy fat to absorb the lutein better. So when you eat an egg, there's already fat in it. So naturally our body is going to absorb the lutein. And the second reason is competition, because we're eating these foods and our bodies are benefiting from the synergy of all the nutrients working together, but they're also competing. Okay, so we talk about lutein in leafy greens, but there's also a very strong pigment called chlorophyll. And when the chlorophyll and the lutein compete, some of the cells are going to take up the chlorophyll, some's going to take up the lutein, but you don't have the chlorophyll in eggs, you really just have the lutein. So our body does absorb it very, very well. Now I want to speak just a little bit on DHA. I said earlier that we get the DHA omega-3s from fish. So how does DHA get into the eggs? Well, it turns out, so we can feed our hens flax, and when the hens eat the flax, it gets ALA. That's our plant-based omega-3. So it takes this ALA and it converts it into DHA, and it turns out that the hen does that conversion better than we are. So if you buy omega-3 eggs, you will benefit from DHA, but not as much as fish. You have to eat a dozen DHA eggs to get the same amount of omega-3s that you do in 1 fillet of salmon. Okay, but every little bit helps. So I do recommend buying the omega-3 eggs. So what do we need to remember? Lutein in eggs is absorbed well. We want to eat 4 eggs per week. The yolk is good. And you can prepare it boiled, poached, sunny, and scrambled. Okay, we don't want to put too much oil, but it's okay to cook your egg in a healthy oil. Green vegetables. So first, let me back up a bit. The leafy greens, orange peppers, fish, and eggs are the most important iFood categories in my opinion. So we're going to talk about some others because you're going to see there's so many foods you could be adding to your diet. So green vegetables, this leads us into green vegetables. The most important green vegetables for eye health are Brussels sprouts, broccoli, peas, and green beans. And why these green vegetables? Well, they contain lutein and zeaxanthin, vitamin C and E, beta carotene, and fiber at a high amount. Okay, so we want to eat half a cup per day, both raw and cooked, of some of these green vegetables, not every one of them, some of them, so you can mix it up. Okay, half a cup per day. Raw and cooked, remember we want to benefit from vitamin C as well as lutein and zeaxanthin. Orange vegetables, we're 45 minutes into a talk on eye health and nutrition, and we finally get to carrots. Okay, so carrots are important for eye health because they contain beta carotene. And if you remember at the beginning, I did mention that vitamin A is used in the vision signal. So beta carotene is a carotenoid also. Okay, beta carotene we get from orange vegetables such as carrots and butternut squash and sweet potato. The highest food source of beta carotene is sweet potatoes, though, not carrots. Okay, so carrots are good for us. We still want to eat them, but if you really want to get a lot of beta carotene, eat a sweet potato. And sweet potatoes are also good for us because they contain a lot of fiber. And we'll talk a little bit later about why fiber is so important for our eye health. So let's eat half a cup cooked 3 times per week and half a cup raw 3 times per week. Now I've included this that beta carotene from food is safe because you may have heard of you don't want to be taking beta carotene from a supplement. Okay, back in the day, the arid supplements that we would be on with macular degeneration contained beta carotene, and we've stopped this for 2 reasons. One, because if you take beta carotene from a supplement and you used to smoke or you're a smoker, it can increase your risk of lung cancer. And 2, because there's competition with the beta carotene and the lutein. So we don't supplement beta carotene, but beta carotene from food is safe. And I get asked this question a lot when I give talks. So you can please still eat carrots, please still eat sweet potatoes. You're not going to get enough to cause any competition there. Okay. And fruit. Okay, we're going to talk a little bit of fruit because fruit's great source of vitamin C and E, a little bit of lutein. Some fruit even has beta carotene in it and fiber. Okay, we want to watch when we eat fruit, especially if you have diabetes, you're prone to diabetes, you want to limit the amount of fruit you're eating. It's better to eat, it's better to eat fruits that might be a bit lower in sugar, but all the fruits that you're going to see here have particularly important benefits to our eye health. So kiwi, if we remember, kiwi is an important fruit because it's the highest fruit source of vitamin C, 90 milligrams in a medium-sized kiwi. Cantaloupe's a good fruit because it contains some beta carotene, and it's actually quite hard to find beta carotene in fruit. Berries are great. They have a lower glycemic load and they are high in vitamin C, all different types of berries. Mango, you'll see mango in this picture. Mango didn't actually make it as an iFood, but I use it in a lot of my recipes. Well, 1, because I love it, but 2, because it contains vitamin E. And we usually get vitamin E from fats and oils. And mango was one of the rare fruit sources that had vitamin E. It actually surprised me. So mango is an option as well. So try to get 3 servings of fruit per day. Okay, so we talked a lot about what foods to eat, and the book it goes in depth and even a little more of some different food categories too. But now I want to switch gears just for a moment and talk about what not to eat. Okay, so we talked about what to eat, and I always like to focus on the positive. It's easier to add something to our life that we might enjoy rather than take stuff away. Okay, but we do need to be cognizant about what foods could be bad for our eyes. So eat right, see bright. Okay, we talked about how to eat right. What don't we want to eat? We want to try to avoid processed foods, limit high sugar foods. Foods with a high glycemic index. That means foods that are high in sugar, like white bread, donuts, cookies. They've been shown to increase our risk for age-related macular degeneration. They can also put us at a higher risk for diabetes, for type 2 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes can have effects on our retinal health as well. Okay, so we want to watch foods that are high glycemic index. Processed foods, we want to try to stay away from processed foods as much as possible to try to decrease our omega-6 intake. A heart-healthy diet is an eye-healthy diet. Studies have shown that there are many links between cardiovascular disease and age-related macular degeneration. And we're really trying to delve deeper to find out why. But we know that a heart-healthy diet can also help with macular degeneration. So what does a heart-healthy diet look like? High in fiber. Okay, so we start talking about fiber. You know, we're going to get fiber from our green vegetables, from our fruits, from flaxseed, different things like that. Okay, sweet potatoes, that was our excellent choice of fiber. Now, one thing, and I know it's hard, we go to the grocery store, we watch shows on what diet to follow, what food to eat, and we don't know if something's healthy or something isn't healthy. But one thing we do know that science has proven is that the Mediterranean diet has been scientifically shown to help with cardiovascular disease. Okay, and the Mediterranean diet is a diet that is high in fruits and vegetables. Okay, it's based on fruits and vegetables. And then you have a little bit of fish, smaller amount of meat. The main source of fat is olive oil, okay, and whole grains. So think of Mediterranean diet as a heart healthy diet, and that's also an eye healthy diet. So another thing that we know is that body mass index and waist circumference are related to macular degeneration. So if we have an above normal BMI, it can increase our risk for AMD and a larger waist circumference. Okay, so we want to focus on adding all these eye foods to our diet, but as we start to eat healthier, if necessary, weight loss could be our next step. Okay. And physical activity. So scientists have shown that exercising at least 3 times per week can slow the progression of AMD. That's another reason to get active. Being active is also going to help boost our mood. It's going to help us feel better, and it's going to help us want to eat better. So it's a circle with that. So even just start by walking, have fun with it, dancing, dance in the kitchen, put some music on when you're preparing your healthy, eye healthy meal. Do anything you can, you know, even just doing some exercises in your chair. Any little thing can help with that. Okay, so as you can see, this is a talk about food, but I do want to just touch on supplements because supplements do have their place in overall eye care and eye health. We use supplements for patients that have moderate to advanced age-related macular degeneration. We use supplements often patients that are high risk for macular degeneration. We use supplements for people that suffer from dry eye disease, okay? There's 3 basic supplements. There's prevention vitamins, there's vitamins, maybe the arid supplements for macular degeneration, and omega-3 fatty acids. My advice is to take only on recommendation from your eye care provider, okay, and follow their recommendation. But ask questions, ask why they're recommending or prescribing a specific supplement. There's too much information online to be able to muddle through yourself, and take that from me who goes through this information. I get confused, and I have a background in this, that you need to speak with your optometrist or your ophthalmologist about what supplements to take. Okay, part 3. So we went through the nitty gritty. Now we're going to talk about implementation. We're going to take a little bit of time to talk about that. And I don't expect you to jump in, because sometimes if we try to do something all at once, we fall off easily. So we're going to do this in a step-by-step approach. Okay, this is something that I tell every single patient that comes into Eye Wellness for their first exam. We go through the iFoods tips, okay? This is something that everybody can follow. 1, eat a handful of leafy greens a day, okay? So a handful a day of leafy greens, such as kale, spinach, even romaine lettuce. But think back, if you want to mix it up a little bit, we have so many other options there. So a handful a day of leafy greens. 2, orange peppers. We want to eat 2 peppers per week, 2 ways, raw and cooked. Okay, so 2 peppers per week. Cold water fish, 4 fish per week. Now remember, 4 fish, that's 4 servings. You can get that out of 2 to 3 meals, okay? And small is safe. Now we put the picture of the sushi on there because it's a pretty picture, but let's review what the fish, the healthy fish are. Salmon, Arctic char, light tuna, sardines, mackerel, and rainbow trout. Okay, 4 fish per week, small is safe. You don't want to do your deep fried fish and chips. Be careful on how your fish is prepared. And then number 4 is eggs, 4 eggs per week. And remember, the yolk is good. So iFoods tips, that's a first way to start integrating iFoods into your diet, into your life. The second way to take it up a notch would be to devote a meal a day to healthy eyes. Okay, and this actually came from the iFoods book. There's a couple meal plans in there that actually even include grocery lists. It's all done for you, and these recipes are in the book as well. So this would be a full week. So you're doing a meal a day where you're going to focus on iFoods. So Monday for lunch, you're going to do these chicken and almond lettuce wraps, and on the side, raw broccoli with white bean dip and green tea. Tuesday for dinner, rainbow trout packets. We saw that recipe earlier on in the talk with carrot fries. Wednesday for lunch, you're going to eat the rainbow trout left over from the night before with a nice mango spinach salad on the side. Thursday for dinner, we'll make turkey fajitas with some sparkling water with lime and lemon. And I often add the lemon and lime to my water to get that little bit of extra vitamin C. And then Friday, we can have a crustless quiche with a salad of baby spinach topped with berries and drizzled with olive oil, lemon juice, salt, and pepper. Why do we have to put olive oil on our salads? To increase the absorption of the lutein from the leafy green. And these recipes, like I said, are in the iFoods book. Okay, so we did 4 tips. We did a meal a day for healthy eyes. This would be, if you want to go all in for your eye health, is to follow the iFoods lifestyle plan. Okay, so I'm going to take a minute to review this. This is a summary of everything. So first, we're going to follow the iFoods nutrition plan. And with the iFoods nutrition plan, we actually have a little sheet to track it. So not only do you follow it to implement it into your life, you can track that you're actually eating all the foods that are recommended. 2, wear good quality sunglasses. I haven't talked about that yet, even though this is a talk on lifestyle, but this is so important. We should all be protecting our eyes from the UV light. We know for a fact that UV light increases the risk of cataracts and macular degeneration. So you want to make sure you have good quality sunglasses 365 days of the year, because even if it doesn't seem like a sunny day, we are getting UV exposure. Take control of your health. Number 3, take control of your health, because we know there's a link between high blood pressure and macular degeneration. We know you can have other issues with your retinal health with diabetes. Thyroid disease can lead to dry eye syndrome. So you want to take care of your overall health. That's going to help your ocular health as well. Maintain a healthy weight. We need to maintain a healthy weight to decrease our risk for macular degeneration. Get moving. Ideally, we want to exercise every day. Start with 3 times a week, but if you can do it every day, if 30 minutes is too much, start with 10 minutes. Start small. My big advice on exercise is to make it fun. I've fallen in and out of love with exercise many, many, many times in my life. Could be the come up with the biggest excuses on both sides, why to exercise and why not to exercise. But I remember once telling somebody that was helping me get back into exercising again, I said, I want to fall in love with exercising again. And you can do that. It has to be fun. So whether it's dancing, having good music on, whatever you need, doing it, save your favorite show and only let yourself watch that show when you're exercising, something that makes it fun for you. And lastly, not for everybody, but if recommended by your optometrist or ophthalmologist, take an eye vitamin. So you can take a picture of this screen as a summary on what to do to overall help maintain your healthy eyes. Just a little screenshot of my book, which, as Larry said, is available on their website, macularhope.org. And in conclusion, I want to thank everybody for listening, for sharing your lunch with me here for my wellness. Everybody, either in your beds or your kitchens or workplace or wherever you might be right now. And just to summarize, I recommend that we eat well, okay? Eat eye foods, eat well, be well by moving more, by taking care of our general health, and see well by wearing sunglasses. And if you do all these things, this should be helping you maintain a lifetime of healthier eyes. So I hope that I've empowered you and inspired you a little bit. I hope you've learned a few little tidbits here or there, and I welcome questions. So thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, so question one. You can see how good my glasses are here. Okay, our red and yellow peppers. Okay, so our red and yellow peppers, do they have the same nutrition for our eyes, or are orange the only ones good for our eyes? So great question. All peppers are good for our eyes because all peppers are a good source of vitamin C, okay? So eat all colored peppers raw to enjoy vitamin C. Orange peppers are a little better because they contain more vitamin C, but more importantly, because they contain lutein and zeaxanthin. Okay, all peppers are good, but you want to make sure you have orange peppers in addition. Another question we have. Oh, this is a great one. Somebody's a vegetarian. I'm a vegetarian here. I've been using flax oil for omega-3s. Is that a valid substitute? If not, is there something else? I get this question all the time. Okay, I'm vegetarian. I'm following a vegan diet. What do I do? So if you are vegetarian or vegan, you probably will be deficient in omega-3s. Flaxseed is not, I mean, you want to eat it, but taking a flax oil, it's not a great substitute. There are better options now for supplements called vegan omega-3s where they get the DHA from seaweed. Okay, so you want to look for a vegan omega-3 product instead of it that has DHA in it instead of flax oil. Now, you also want to increase your amount of flaxseed in your diet, avocado, walnuts, even though they don't convert as much to the DHA and EPA, every little bit helps. Why light tuna doesn't taste as good? Great question. I recommend light tuna as opposed to white tuna because it's lower in contaminants and more sustainable. Okay, so you can still eat white tuna, but I wouldn't be eating it twice a week. You know, even once a week might be a bit much. You should watch the mercury. There are some great products. I know there's one I can speak to called Safe Catch Tuna, though, that they test every can for mercury for contaminants. So there are other options, but that's why I recommend the light is because of the contamination. Another question, will these tips help someone who already has macular degeneration? And great question. And my answer is yes. Okay. They're not going to make the macular degeneration go away, but our goal is to help decrease the progression. Okay. Help decrease the risk of progression of macular degeneration. Also, if you have low vision, macular degeneration that has caused severe vision loss and low vision, the hope is if we can put a little bit of lutein and zeaxanthin back in that macula, maybe we can gain a little bit more, a little bit of increased contrast. So yes, it will help you even if you already have macular degeneration. It's never too late to start. It's never too early to start. Okay, what specific or additional recommendations do you have for wet AMD, so wet macular degeneration? Also, are there lab tests to see if you're getting enough of these vitamins, like you can test for vitamin D? Thank you. Okay, so specific for additional recommendations for wet AMD, that's a great question, because when you have wet AMD, you have bleeding, you have blood vessels growth. And there is some research that shows that green tea specifically can help with that. Okay, so you're going to be wanting to take your AREDS vitamins if you have wet macular degeneration. Follow the advice of your retinal specialist, of your ophthalmologist. Make sure you're doing the treatments that they're recommending. But from a lifestyle and nutrition standpoint, green tea, I would add green tea to your diet, to your regimen. And as far as lab tests for the vitamins, yes, we can test for vitamin D. There are tests you can get for omega-3s. A lot of naturopaths might be offering those, where you can test the omega-3 level in your body. As far as lutein and zeaxanthin, instead of doing it, checking how much is in your blood or your serum, we can actually check how much is in your macula. That's called macular pigment optical density, because that's really what we care about. So it's called an MPOD. Not every optometrist has it, but you may find a lot are starting to now. So that's something you want to be looking at, an MPOD test. And that can tell us if, we have adequate levels of lutein and zeaxanthin in our macula. What food is good for dry eyes? Well, that's a great question. So one of the most important foods for dry eyes are omega-3s. Okay, if one thing you take out of this for dry eye is DHA and EPA. So fish. Okay, for dry eyes, you're going to want to be eating fish 3 to 4 times per week. And can we get a list of books? And the slideshow will not be available. Thanks. Oh, great question. Just a little bit of history about myself, is the first few books that me and Dr. Pelchier wrote, iFoods and iFoods for Kids and a little Cooking for iFoods one, we actually self-published those. And a year and a half ago, when I released our new book that was picked up by a publisher, we had to agree not to sell our previous books. So you could probably still see the original iFoods book on Amazon if you check, but this complete guide, iFoods, the complete guide to eye health and nutrition, has all the information from the other books. So this is going to be really the only book that you need, and it is on the Macular Degeneration Association's website. And the last two are about sunglasses. So how to choose good sunglasses and what recommendations do you have for sunglasses? Great question. Sunglasses, one of the most important things, or the most important thing, is that they're UV 400. So they block out all UV light. Okay. You're gonna have to have a little bit of faith on that. So I would buy my sunglasses from a reputable seller, from an optician or an optometrist, somebody that specializes in that, to make sure they're UV 400. But to take it up a notch, you're going to want polarized sunglasses. So polarized sunglasses, in addition to blocking all the UV light, they block glare. Okay, basically they act as a horizontal blind and let light come in only one direction. So they give you better vision. Okay, UV 400 blocks the UV light. Polarized sunglasses improve your vision. You also want sunglasses that are larger. Okay, you don't want little small ones. You want them to go all the way around so that you can't get the light coming in and bouncing back into your eye. So you want a good fit. And you want to make sure that they can block out blue light too, because I did mention that the sun is our biggest source of blue light. Okay, so polarized, UV 400, blue light, and a good large fit so light can't get through. And I think that's all the questions I see.
I want to thank you, and I want to thank all our participants. I hope you got a lot out of this, as I did. And please consider buying the book online. We also use this as a revenue source. So you'll be giving a good donation to charity as well as benefiting from it. And again, I want to thank Novartis and Regeneron for their support for this conference and future ones. And please go to our website to find out future programs. We'll be continuing those certainly well into the new year. So anyway, happy holiday to everybody. Stay healthy, stay safe, and have a good day.